Jake adjusted his helmet as he stepped off the landing platform. The planet beneath him was unlike anything he had ever seen. Sky blue dust swirled over tall crystal towers that shimmered in the sunlight, and strange plants grew in geometric patterns, almost as if they had been carefully designed. The air smelled faintly of ozone and sweet nectar, a combination that made his chest feel light and his mind alert. This was Virelia, a world known across the galaxy for its intelligence and culture. Only a few humans had ever set foot here. Jake, a human explorer and diplomat, had been chosen to represent Earth in a cultural exchange. The mission was simple: observe, learn, and make connections with the native species. But Jake knew nothing about how the aliens would react to human humor, human gestures, or even simple conversation. He walked toward the towering city, the platform's doors sliding open silently before him. Inside, smooth corridors gleamed with a metallic sheen, reflecting the soft glow of the walls. Alien figures moved gracefully, some walking on multiple legs, others floating just above the floor. Their skin ranged from silver to soft violet, and their eyes sparkled like polished gemstones. At the main hall, Jake was met by Lyra, the alien leader he had come to meet. She stood taller than any human, her form elegant and commanding, yet her eyes carried a warmth that instantly put him at ease. She had a slender frame, long limbs and skin that shifted colors slightly, almost like liquid sunlight. Her voice was musical, soft, and yet carried authority. "Welcome to Virelia, human," she said, bowing slightly. "I am Lyra. We have heard much about your species." Jake smiled. "Thank you, Lyra. I've heard much about yours as well. It's amazing to finally see it in person." Lyra's eyes sparkled with interest. "We are curious about you. You are said to be brave and different. Humor is rare among humans. You use it with strangers?" Jake chuckled softly. "Yes, we do. It helps break the ice sometimes." She tilted her head, intrigued. "Very well. We shall see how your humor fares among us." A large gathering was waiting in the hall. Aliens from different regions of Virelia had come to observe the human diplomat. The room was alive with soft hums, melodic sounds, and the subtle shimmer of alien energy in the air. Jake felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was his moment to show that humans could connect with beings far beyond their own world. The ceremony began formally, with greetings exchanged in their musical language. Jake mimicked a few simple gestures, bowing slightly, which drew polite smiles from the crowd. He noticed that the aliens' culture valued grace, attentiveness, and precision. One wrong move could be taken as disrespect, so he remained careful. Finally, a chance for casual conversation arrived. Lyra guided Jake to a platform where attendees were invited to speak freely. Jake's heart pounded in his chest, but he reminded himself that humans thrived in social situations, often by using humor to ease tension. He looked at Lyra, who was watching him carefully, and decided to test the waters. "You know," he began, "I've been told your species is very elegant. I'm worried I might trip over my own feet trying to keep up." A few aliens tilted their heads, uncertain how to respond. The silence was tense. Jake continued, a little bolder now. "Or maybe I'll accidentally invent a new dance move no one else will understand. Humans are full of surprises." For a moment, the room remained quiet. Then Lyra did something unexpected. She laughed. It was not a short, polite laugh, but a long, musical sound that filled the hall. Jake froze, unsure if he had gone too far, but Lyra's eyes sparkled and her laughter grew softer, warm, and genuinely amused. "You are brave, human," she said. "And strange. Your humor, it is unlike anything we have experienced. It is refreshing." The other aliens exchanged glances, and some began to smile, intrigued by the human's boldness. Jake exhaled, feeling the tension leave his shoulders. His joke, harmless though it was, had succeeded in making an impact. Over the next hour, Jake and Lyra engaged in playful conversation. He tried more human jokes, all in good spirit, and she responded with curiosity, asking questions about why humans found certain things funny. Jake explained that humor often comes from surprise, from the unexpected, or from seeing ourselves in a silly way. Lyra listened attentively, fascinated by the concept. "You find joy in the simplest things," she said, tilting her head. "Even your mistakes can be amusing?" "Yes," Jake replied with a grin. "Sometimes mistakes are the best part. They teach us and they make life lighter." Lyra considered his words. "Your species uses laughter as a tool, not just for enjoyment, but for connection. Interesting." As the day passed, Jake was invited to explore Virelia's city with Lyra. The alien architecture was unlike anything he had imagined. Towers that bent and curved like liquid, streets that glowed faintly underfoot, and gardens suspended in midair. Lyra explained how their society valued beauty, harmony, and knowledge, but she also admitted that they often took themselves too seriously. Jake's humor, she noted, was a rarity, an unpredictable spark that intrigued her people. At one point, while walking along a bridge of crystal light, Jake couldn't resist making another playful comment. "I hope you don't mind, but your city makes me feel a bit clumsy. I might bump into something or someone." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, and then she laughed again. Her laughter was like a song, echoing across the bridge. "You are fearless, human. You treat the world lightly. Most beings would tremble in a place such as this." Jake laughed too, a warm, easy sound. For the first time, he felt truly at home among aliens. He realized that humor, human humor, was not just a way to entertain. It was a bridge, a tool to create understanding and friendship. Later, as they paused near a floating garden, Lyra asked, "Tell me, human, why do you laugh at such things?" Jake thought for a moment. "Because it reminds us that life isn't only about rules or power or being perfect. Sometimes it's about connection. A laugh can bring people together even when they're different." Lyra nodded thoughtfully. "I see now. Perhaps humans are special. You find light in places we overlook. You connect without needing ceremony or status. That is a strength." Jake felt a surge of pride, not for himself alone, but for all of humanity. He realized that in this vast universe, humans had a unique ability. The ability to laugh, to find joy, and to connect with others despite differences. That gift could open doors where technology or diplomacy alone might fail. As the sun began to set over the crystal towers, casting long, colored shadows across the city, Lyra looked at Jake with a new sense of respect. "Your humor has changed my perspective, human. I am curious. What else can you teach us?" Jake smiled. "Only what humans can, how to enjoy life, how to connect, and sometimes, how to laugh at ourselves." The first day on Virelia ended with laughter, conversation, and a sense of promise. Jake knew the mission had only just begun, but already he could see that his human nature, brave, curious, and playful, was making a mark on this alien world. As they parted for the evening, Lyra said softly, almost to herself, "You are unlike any being I have met. Strange yet remarkable." Jake walked back to his quarters with a sense of accomplishment. Humor had opened the first door, and he could only wonder what other surprises awaited. Tomorrow, he would learn more about Lyra, her people, and the ways in which a human could thrive in an alien world, simply by being himself. And perhaps, just perhaps, a small joke about someone's body delivered with respect and playfulness could change the course of interstellar diplomacy forever. The next morning, Jake woke to a soft, melodic sound that filled his quarters. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. The room was unlike any human design. Smooth walls that shimmered faintly, a bed that seemed to float slightly above the floor, and a window looking out over the crystal towers of Virelia. The city glowed in soft shades of gold and violet as the sun rose. He dressed quickly, eager for the day's adventures. Today, Lyra had invited him to explore more of the city and meet others from her society. Jake felt a mix of excitement and curiosity. He had always been fascinated by how different life could be in the galaxy, but this time it was personal. His humor had left an impression on Lyra, and he wanted to see how humans could continue to connect with these advanced beings. When he arrived at the main plaza, Lyra was waiting for him, standing gracefully on a platform of light. Her skin shimmered softly in the morning sun, and her eyes, bright and curious, held a spark of amusement. "Good morning, human," she said, her voice musical. "Are you ready for today's lessons in our ways?" "Good morning, Lyra," Jake replied with a grin. "I am ready. But be warned, my lessons are full of human surprises." Lyra laughed, the sound like crystal wind chimes. "I have no doubt." They began their walk through the city. Jake marveled at the alien architecture, buildings that twisted elegantly toward the sky, bridges that hovered without support, and gardens suspended in midair with flowers that glowed faintly. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved gracefully around them. Some had long, slender limbs, while others floated or glided as if gravity barely touched them. "You move with such confidence, human," Lyra said. "Many of my people would hesitate in the presence of so many strangers," Jake shrugged. "Humans have a way of adjusting quickly. We learn from experience, and sometimes we just jump in." Lyra studied him closely. "You are brave and perhaps foolish, but your courage is inspiring." As they walked, Jake noticed that some aliens were observing him more closely than before. Their expressions were curious, not hostile. He realized that being human in Virelia drew attention because humans were rare and unpredictable. Lyra's people valued precision and control, while humans thrived on improvisation. That difference seemed to intrigue them. They entered a marketplace filled with alien goods. Strange fruits glowed with internal light, fabrics shimmered like liquid, and small devices floated beside their owners. Lyra explained the uses of some objects, and Jake marveled at the creativity and ingenuity. "Do you always carry floating objects with you?" Jake asked, pointing to a small hovering orb that followed an alien merchant. Lyra laughed softly. "Not always, human. But these devices make life simpler. Humans prefer hands-on experience, I imagine?" Jake nodded. "We like to touch, feel, and sometimes experiment. That's how we learn. Sometimes it leads to mistakes, but we often laugh at them and learn more quickly because of it." Lyra's eyes sparkled with interest. "Laughter? You mentioned it before. Is it common for humans to find joy in mistakes?" "Yes," Jake said, smiling. "Laughter helps us connect even in difficult situations. It reminds us we are alive and not perfect. We can enjoy life while learning from it." Lyra considered his words thoughtfully. "Your species finds joy in imperfection. Fascinating." As they continued through the marketplace, Jake tried another human joke. He picked up a glowing fruit that pulsed faintly in his hand and said, "I hope this doesn't explode in my pocket. Humans don't have built-in shields for glowing fruit yet." Lyra's eyes widened slightly, and then she laughed again. Her laughter echoed lightly, catching the attention of nearby aliens. A few of them tilted their heads, listening to the strange sound. Jake realized that humor, even the simplest, could make his presence memorable in this world. After the marketplace, Lyra led him to the Hall of Knowledge, a massive library filled with floating scrolls, holographic records, and archives of Virelia's history. Jake was amazed by the sheer volume of information and how it was organized. "You are impressed," Lyra said, smiling. "Most humans would be overwhelmed by the knowledge here." Jake laughed. "I'll admit it's a lot. But humans like challenges. And this is incredible. You could spend lifetimes exploring this hall and still not see everything." Lyra nodded. "True, we value knowledge highly. But humans, you seem to absorb lessons differently. You adapt, improvise, and even find joy in the process. That is unusual here." Jake felt a sense of pride. He realized that being human gave him unique strengths, curiosity, adaptability, and a light-hearted approach to life that even the most advanced aliens could not fully imitate. As they moved through the hall, they came across a section dedicated to alien art. Paintings and sculptures depicted Virelia's history, mythology, and cultural achievements. Jake examined a sculpture of intertwined beings reaching toward a glowing sky. "It's beautiful," he said. "It tells a story without words." Lyra smiled. "Art communicates what language sometimes cannot. Your species, do you create such representations?" "Yes," Jake said, "we do. And sometimes we even make jokes in art. A small smile hidden in a painting or a funny twist in a sculpture. It connects people through surprise and delight." Lyra raised an eyebrow. You use humor in your art as well? Your species is endlessly curious and inventive, Jake grinned. We like to keep life interesting. They paused near a floating platform where other aliens were practicing a form of rhythmic movement. Part dance, part exercise, all perfectly synchronized. Lyra turned to Jake. Would you like to try? She asked. Jake hesitated. He had never been trained in alien movement, but he smiled. I can try. I make no promises. As he joined, his movements were clumsy, uncoordinated, and entirely human. But he smiled, laughed at his own missteps, and tried again. Lyra observed him closely, her eyes filled with admiration and amusement. You are persistent, she said. Even when you falter, you continue. And you laugh. That is remarkable. Jake laughed, bowing slightly. Humans have a saying. It's not about being perfect, it's about enjoying the process. Lyra's laughter joined his, and soon the other aliens watching began to smile, and even attempt similar movements. What began as a clumsy experiment became a shared moment of joy and learning. Jake realized that human humor and confidence could break barriers even in a society as structured and disciplined as Virelia's. After the exercises, Lyra and Jake walked through a quiet garden. Floating lights hovered above strange, colorful plants, and the air was fragrant with unfamiliar scents. Lyra spoke softly as if thinking aloud. You have changed my perspective, human. My people often focus too much on precision and control. Yet your humor, your lightness, it brings a new kind of balance. It is valuable. Jake smiled, touched by her words. That's what humans can do. We remind others that life can be fun, even in serious situations. We connect through laughter, curiosity, and sometimes even mistakes. Lyra nodded, looking thoughtful. Perhaps humans are more capable of understanding life than we first assumed. You are brave, humorous, and adaptable. You see the world differently in that perspective. It is rare. As the day ended, Lyra escorted Jake back to his quarters. The sky over Virelia glowed with shifting colors, painting the city in shades of gold, purple, and blue. Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. His first full day on the planet had been more than exploration. It had been a journey of connection, learning, and mutual respect. Lyra turned to him one last time before leaving. Tomorrow we will meet others who wish to learn from your species. I am curious how your humor will fare with them. Be prepared for surprises. Jake laughed softly. I was born ready. And don't worry, my surprises are always friendly. As he settled in for the night, Jake reflected on what he had learned. Humans had a unique ability to connect with others, even beings from entirely different worlds. Courage, curiosity, and humor were gifts that could open doors where technology or diplomacy alone might fail. And perhaps, just perhaps, a single joke could build bridges across the galaxy. For the first time, Jake felt the weight of possibility. Being human on Virelia was not just about observation or diplomacy. It was about showing what made humanity special. And with Lyra's guidance, he was ready to continue the journey. The stars outside his window twinkled in the alien sky, and Jake smiled. Tomorrow promised new challenges, new friendships, and new opportunities to show that humans, in all their strange and wonderful ways, could thrive anywhere in the universe. The next day, Jake woke early feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today was different. Lyra had promised to introduce him to other members of her society, scholars, leaders, and inventors. Humans rarely got the chance to meet so many influential aliens. He wondered how his humor and human personality would be received. When he stepped out onto the platform, Lyra was already waiting. Her skin shimmered softly in the morning light, and her eyes held a playful spark. Are you ready, human? She asked. Jake grinned. Ready as ever. Let's meet your people. They walked through the city streets, now bustling with more aliens than yesterday. Some floated above the ground. Others moved with precise, elegant steps. Jake noticed curious eyes turning toward him, a mixture of intrigue and uncertainty. Being human here made him stand out, but he also realized it was an opportunity to show what humans could bring to interstellar relationships. Courage, creativity, and humor. They arrived at a large amphitheater. Aliens of various forms and sizes were already seated, waiting. Lyra led Jake to the center and introduced him to the assembly. Humans are rare in our world, she explained. This one, Jake, has already shown us courage, curiosity, and a sense of humor. Today we welcome him to share insights from his species. Jake bowed slightly. Thank you. I hope my words can be helpful. Or at least entertaining. A few of the aliens tilted their heads, unsure what entertaining meant. Jake smiled. Humor was always a gamble across species, but he had learned that honesty and friendliness often worked better than cleverness. The first session began with questions from the aliens. They were curious about human culture, emotions, and social interactions. Jake spoke about laughter, friendship, and creativity. He explained that humans often use jokes to build trust, to lighten the mood, and to connect with others, even strangers. One alien scholar, with silver skin and 3 eyes, asked, "Do humans always find amusement in others' errors?" Jake chuckled. "Not in a mean way. We laugh at mistakes because it helps everyone learn and stay positive. It's a way to show understanding, not judgment." The assembly seemed to relax. Jake realized that human honesty and warmth were just as powerful as intelligence or skill. Lyra watched him closely, her eyes reflecting admiration. After the discussion, Lyra invited Jake to a demonstration of alien technology. Floating platforms, devices that responded to thought, and machines that bent light fascinated him. Jake asked questions, made careful jokes about the complexity of the machines, and even suggested playful comparisons to Earth inventions. "Your humor is persistent," Lyra said quietly. "Even in serious situations, you find a way to connect." Jake smiled. "Humans like to find balance. Work is important, but so is joy. Life is better with a little laughter." Lyra nodded. "Perhaps humans are teaching us more than we realize. Not only about your species, but about life itself." Later, Jake joined a group in the Garden of Reflection, a serene space with floating plants, glowing pools, and soft melodic sounds. Aliens meditated, communicated silently, or simply observed the beauty around them. Jake felt nervous about fitting in, but he reminded himself that human presence often brought perspective. He decided to share a simple story, a small human joke about a mistake he once made on a mission. As he recounted it, the story was light, respectful, and humorous. Lyra listened intently, laughing at the right moments. Soon the other aliens joined in gentle laughter. "You make even mistakes seem enjoyable," Lyra whispered. "That is a rare gift." Jake realized that humor could not only ease tension but also create understanding. What might have been seen as foolishness in other situations became a bridge here. He felt proud, but also humble, recognizing that humans had much to learn from these advanced beings too. The afternoon brought a new challenge. Lyra took Jake to meet a council of elders, beings who valued precision, seriousness, and careful thought. Many of them had not met a human before. They observed Jake silently as Lyra introduced him. "Human," Lyra said. "This one has shown us courage and perspective. He may teach us how to look at life differently." The eldest elder, a tall figure with eyes like polished amber, spoke slowly. "We hear of your humor, human. Will it be acceptable here in this serious assembly?" Jake took a deep breath. "I will try my best." But even in seriousness, humans find ways to see the lighter side. Sometimes it helps people understand each other better. He then shared a simple, harmless joke about cultural misunderstandings, how humans might misinterpret a gesture or phrase, and how a small laugh could solve a big problem. At first, the elders were silent. Jake felt a flicker of doubt, but then one elder's lips curved into a smile and another nodded thoughtfully. Soon gentle laughter spread through the group. Lyra watched him, her eyes wide with admiration. "You see possibilities where others see only rules," she whispered. "That is extraordinary." The council asked more questions, curious about human decision-making, problem-solving, and adaptability. Jake explained that humans valued creativity and cooperation, often using humor to ease stress and build trust. The aliens began to see that human traits, curiosity, adaptability, courage, and playfulness, were strengths, not weaknesses. As the day ended, Lyra led Jake to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The towers glowed in the evening light and the air shimmered with energy. "You have made an impression today," Lyra said softly. "Even the elders who value precision and control have seen the value of your perspective." Jake smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "It's simple, really. Humans connect through understanding and laughter. That's all it takes sometimes." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "Your species has a way of turning obstacles into opportunities. Even in unfamiliar places, you create connections where others see only distance. That is remarkable." Jake felt a warm pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. Humans were adaptable, courageous, and creative. They could thrive even in worlds unlike their own, simply by being true to themselves. As night fell, they returned to the quarters.
Jake reflected on the day.
Humor, courage, and curiosity had allowed him to build bridges with beings far more advanced than humans. He had learned more about Virelia's culture, their strengths, and their values. But he had also shown them the strengths of humanity, adaptability, empathy, and joy. Lyra approached him once more before leaving. Tomorrow we will explore more of our society, including activities you may find challenging. Are you prepared? Jake laughed softly. Prepared as ever. Challenges are just opportunities with a twist. She smiled, a soft glimmer in her eyes. Then we shall see, human. Your presence is already teaching us lessons beyond any words. As Jake settled in for the night, he felt a deep sense of purpose. Being human on Virelia was not just about observing and learning. It was about showing what made humans special, our humor, courage, and ability to connect across differences. He knew the journey was just beginning, but he was ready. Tomorrow promised new challenges, new friendships, and new opportunities to demonstrate the unique strengths of humanity. Jake closed his eyes, feeling confident that his laughter, curiosity, and willingness to embrace the unknown could continue to open doors, even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The morning light spread across Virelia's city, casting long, shimmering reflections on the crystal towers. Jake stepped out of his quarters, stretching as he admired the alien skyline. Today, Lyra had planned something different. Instead of formal meetings or discussions, she promised a hands-on experience, a chance for Jake to interact with Virelia's technology, culture, and social activities in a more practical way. Lyra was waiting for him at the central platform, her posture elegant, her eyes twinkling. "Good morning, human," she said. "Today will test more than your understanding. It will test your adaptability." Jake laughed softly. "Adaptability? That's my specialty. Humans thrive on challenges." Lyra tilted her head, smiling. "We shall see." They walked through the bustling streets toward a large hall known as the Chamber of Innovation, where Virelia's inventors and thinkers gathered to demonstrate their creations. As they entered, Jake felt a rush of excitement. Floating devices, complex machines, and holographic displays filled the space. Aliens worked in teams, observing, adjusting, and experimenting with precision. "Your presence will be observed closely," Lyra said. "We want to see how a human reacts when faced with unknown tasks." Jake's grin widened. "Then I'll do what humans do best, think creatively and try things." Lyra led him to a platform where a series of complex machines floated in midair. "These are adaptive devices," she explained. "They respond to thought and action. Many of my people struggle to control them perfectly. Perhaps your approach will be enlightening." Jake studied the devices. He noticed that each one required careful coordination, quick thinking, and observation of subtle cues. While the aliens approached the machines with intense focus and calculated movements, Jake decided to try a different approach. He observed, then tested small actions, often experimenting with slight humor or playful movements to see the result. One device, a floating sphere of light, reacted unpredictably at first. Jake stumbled, bumped lightly into a control panel, and the sphere darted away. He laughed, a human laugh full of amusement and lightness. Lyra watched, intrigued. "You do not fear mistakes," she said. "Even when the machine reacts unexpectedly, you remain calm." Jake nodded. "Humans see mistakes as learning opportunities. And sometimes, a little fun makes the process easier." Soon the sphere responded to his attempts more smoothly. His natural creativity allowed him to approach the problem differently than the aliens, who were trained for precision and cautious repetition. Other observers began to notice. Whispers of admiration spread across the chamber. Lyra leaned closer. "You see possibilities where others see limits, human." "That is rare," Jake smiled. "Sometimes it's about trying things differently, being brave enough to experiment." After mastering the sphere, Jake moved on to another device, a holographic puzzle requiring spatial reasoning. While others approached it methodically, Jake made small jokes aloud, speaking to the device as if it were a companion. Surprisingly, the holograms shifted in response, almost as if his playful approach triggered a new pattern. "You improvise with humor," Lyra said quietly, her tone filled with admiration. "Your presence changes how the technology behaves." Jake laughed. Maybe it just likes a little encouragement. The demonstration ended with a round of applause from the assembled inventors. Jake had succeeded not by following rules perfectly, but by thinking creatively, adapting quickly and using his human perspective in a novel way. Lyra smiled, clearly proud. Next, Lyra guided Jake to the Forum of Connection, where Virelia's citizens engaged in discussions, debates, and collaborative problem-solving. Today's session focused on cultural misunderstandings and conflict resolution. A perfect test for Jake's human adaptability. A scenario was presented. Two alien factions had disagreed on a resource-sharing plan. Jake was asked to propose a solution. While others relied on rigid calculations and formal procedures, Jake spoke in human terms, using humor and analogies to illustrate cooperation. He joked lightly about mistakes and misunderstandings, and how a small gesture of goodwill could solve conflicts before they escalated. The aliens listened attentively. Slowly, nods of approval spread across the room. They realized that Jake's human perspective offered solutions that were overlooked by traditional methods. Lyra's people valued precision and logic, but Jake's approach combined empathy, creativity, and humor, traits uniquely human. Lyra's eyes sparkled. You bridge gaps where reason alone cannot, human. That is extraordinary. The session ended with a sense of accomplishment. Jake realized that his strength was not in technology or knowledge alone, but in perspective, his ability to see connections, lighten tension, and inspire cooperation. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Lyra led him to the Garden of Reflection, a serene space with floating flora and glowing pools. They walked in silence for a while, listening to soft musical hums created by the plant's energy. You have done more than I expected, Lyra said quietly. You have taught many today, not through lectures or authority, but through your presence and approach. That is remarkable. Jake looked around, feeling a sense of deep satisfaction. I just try to be human. Brave, curious, and willing to laugh when things go wrong. That's what humans do. Lyra smiled, her expression softening. And yet that is enough to inspire others, even those far beyond your species. You make them see life differently. You show them that connection and joy are as valuable as knowledge and skill. They paused by a pool where glowing fish-like creatures swam in patterns of light. Jake laughed softly. These remind me of some earth creatures. I guess every world finds a way to make life beautiful. Lyra tilted her head. Humans notice beauty in many forms. And humor. It allows you to share that notice with others. Even when they are very different, they can understand through laughter. Jake realized that his presence on Virelia had not only been about learning, but also about teaching in subtle ways. Humans had traits that advanced societies could admire: curiosity, courage, creativity, and the ability to connect through joy and humor. As night fell, Lyra escorted Jake back to his quarters. The city glowed under twin moons, reflecting colors across the crystal towers. You have shown us that humans are more than their strength or technology, Lyra said softly. They are remarkable in spirit, courageous, adaptable, and capable of joy even in unfamiliar worlds. That is a lesson we will not forget. Jake smiled, feeling proud. And I've learned that even in the most advanced places, connection and laughter matter just as much as knowledge. Before leaving, Lyra added, tomorrow, we will explore one final activity. It may test patience, understanding, and creativity. Are you prepared, human? Jake laughed softly. Prepared as ever. Humans like challenges, and I think I can handle this one too. As he settled in for the night, Jake reflected on the past days. He had discovered that being human on Virelia was not about superiority in technology or knowledge. It was about perspective, adaptability, and the ability to connect across differences. Humor had opened doors, courage had earned respect, and curiosity had created lasting bonds. He thought about Lyra's words and the lessons he had imparted without even trying. Being human was not just about surviving in a new world. It was about showing what made humanity special. Laughter, creativity, and empathy could be as powerful as any advanced technology. Jake closed his eyes, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. He knew that no matter the challenge, being human, true to himself, was enough to thrive, connect, and inspire, even on a world as extraordinary as Virelia. The next morning, Jake awoke to the gentle hum of Virelia's city. Today would be different. Lyra had promised the final activity, one that would test not only his skills but also his understanding, patience, and ability to inspire others. Jake felt a mixture of excitement and anticipation. Over the past days he had learned about Virelia, shared human humor, and built connections. Now it was time for the culmination of his journey. Lyra met him at the central platform, her expression calm but expectant. "Good morning, human. Today we'll test all that you have shown us so far. Are you ready?" Jake grinned. "I'm ready. Humans face challenges every day, we just call them adventures." Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Then let us begin." She led him to the Tower of Unity, a vast structure that combined technology, art, and social interaction. At first glance it seemed overwhelming. Floating platforms, complex devices, holographic displays, and large gathering spaces filled the tower. Lyra explained that the activity would require observation, problem-solving, teamwork, and creativity. Jake realized that this was designed to challenge even the most experienced Virelians. Aliens from different regions of Virelia had gathered. Many had observed Jake over the past days. Curious about how a human would approach this final test, Lyra addressed the assembly. "This activity is not a contest of strength or knowledge alone," she said. "It is a test of perspective, adaptability, and cooperation. Humans, though rare here, have shown remarkable qualities. Let us see how one human can approach our world." Jake stepped forward, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. The first task involved coordinating multiple floating platforms to create a network connecting different areas of the tower. Most aliens approached with careful calculations, moving slowly and deliberately. Jake, however, observed patterns, noticed the subtle reactions of the platforms, and tried small, creative adjustments. At first, some platforms wobbled and shifted unexpectedly. Jake laughed softly. "Okay, maybe not that one," he said, his humor lightening the tension. His laughter, combined with quick observation, helped him adjust his approach. Slowly, the network began to take shape. Aliens watching him nodded, impressed by his creativity and adaptability. Lyra approached quietly. "Your approach is unorthodox. You take risks, yet you observe carefully. That is unusual among your people." Jake shrugged. "Humans learn by doing. We make mistakes, laugh, adjust, and keep going. Sometimes that works better than perfect calculation." The next task involved a series of holographic puzzles designed to test communication and collaboration. Teams of aliens struggled to align their actions precisely. Jake decided to try a different approach. He spoke aloud to the holograms, making light-hearted comments, and encouraged the nearby aliens to try new perspectives. At first, the reaction was cautious, but as Jake's playful approach continued, the puzzles responded more smoothly. His humor and willingness to experiment helped the team see solutions they had not noticed before. Lyra observed with admiration. "You inspire cooperation where others see obstacles," she said softly. "Even the most advanced of my people can learn from your methods." Jake smiled. "Sometimes you have to make the process enjoyable. People work better when they feel comfortable, curious, and open." After completing the challenges, Lyra guided him to a reflective space at the top of the tower. From here, the entire city stretched beneath them, glowing under the twin suns of Virelia. Jake felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had not only succeeded in the tasks, but had also shown what humans could contribute: creativity, adaptability, humor, and empathy. Lyra turned to him, her expression filled with respect. "You have demonstrated qualities we value highly, human. Courage, curiosity, and joy have brought balance to our methods. You remind us that connection and perspective are as important as skill and knowledge." Jake looked out over the city. "Humans are small in numbers, but we are brave, curious, and willing to adapt. We learn from others, laugh at ourselves, and find ways to connect. That is what makes us strong." The assembly of aliens who had observed him throughout the day erupted in applause. Some were smiling, others nodding thoughtfully. Jake realized that he had not just completed a test, he had earned their respect and admiration. Lyra smiled warmly. "You have done more than succeed, human. You have taught us. You have shown that even in a structured and advanced society, laughter, curiosity, and human perspective can bring new insight and harmony." Jake laughed softly. "I guess humans do have a way of leaving an impression." After a moment, Lyra placed a hand lightly on his arm. "You are not just a visitor here, Jake. You are a teacher, a connector, and an example of humanity's potential. Your humor, courage, and willingness to embrace the unknown have inspired all of us. Jake felt a sense of pride he had never experienced. For days he had worried about how humans would be perceived in such an advanced world. Now he realized that his strengths, his human traits, were not weaknesses but unique gifts that could create understanding and respect. As the twin suns began to set, casting golden and violet hues across the city, Lyra invited Jake to a celebration in his honor. Aliens of all kinds had gathered, scholars, inventors, leaders, and citizens. The atmosphere was filled with music, soft lights, and laughter. Jake realized that he was witnessing a rare moment, an entire society recognizing the value of a single human. He mingled with the crowd, sharing small jokes, observations, and laughter. Aliens responded with curiosity, amusement, and respect. He noticed that his humor, his courage, and his perspective continued to create bonds, breaking barriers that no technology or knowledge alone could achieve. Lyra stood beside him, her gaze thoughtful. "You have done more than we imagined, human. You have reminded us of the power of connection, joy, and perspective. Your presence has changed us." Jake smiled, humbled. "I didn't do it alone. I learned from all of you as well. Humans are always learning, observing, and adapting. That is what makes us thrive, even in worlds far from our own." The celebration continued long into the evening with music, storytelling, and shared experiences. Jake felt a profound sense of belonging. Though he was far from Earth, he had proven that humans could make a difference anywhere in the galaxy, simply by being brave, curious, and true to themselves. As the night drew to a close, Lyra and Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The crystal towers glowed softly under the starlight, and a gentle wind carried the scent of alien flora. "You have left a mark here, human," Lyra said. "Your presence, your laughter, and your perspective will be remembered. You remind us that strength is not only in knowledge or skill but also in spirit, courage, and connection." Jake nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment. Humans are small, but we try to make the most of every opportunity. We adapt, we laugh, we connect. That is who we are. Lyra's expression softened. "You are more than a visitor here, Jake. You are a bridge between worlds, a reminder of what humanity can offer to the galaxy." Jake smiled, looking out over Varelia's city one last time. He knew that his journey had been more than exploration. It had been a demonstration of humanity's unique strengths. Humor, courage, adaptability, and empathy were not just traits. They were tools that could open doors, build bridges, and inspire change, even among the most advanced civilizations. As he prepared to return to his quarters, Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have proven that humans can thrive anywhere, Jake. And perhaps just as importantly, you have shown that being yourself, true to your nature, can be the most powerful gift of all." Jake nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Across the galaxy, humans might be few, but they carried a spark, curiosity, humor, and courage, that could shine brighter than any technology or weapon. That spark could unite, inspire, and leave a lasting mark on worlds far beyond their own. As the night settled over Varelia, Jake felt a deep sense of purpose and pride. He had faced challenges, shared laughter, and built connections that would endure. The aliens had learned from him, and he had learned from them. And in that exchange, he realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in numbers or machinery. It was in their spirit, their adaptability, and their ability to connect with others, no matter how different they might be. For Jake, the adventure on Varelia had been a journey of discovery, not only of an alien world but also of humanity itself. And as he looked at the glowing towers under the starlit sky, he knew that humans, in all their strange, brave, and wonderful ways, could thrive anywhere in the universe.